All right, we're about to dive into one of the weirdest mysteries in all of history. We're talking about a plague, but not one with fevers or sores. No, this one caused an uncontrollable and sometimes deadly urge to dance.
I know. It sounds completely made up, right? Like something out of a twisted fairy tale. But here's the thing. It's a documented historical fact, which leaves us with this huge question. How on earth could hundreds of people literally dance themselves to death?
And just reading this, you can tell right away this was no joyful party. Just try to picture it. The sweltering summer heat in the city of Strasbourg. People, their arms flailing, clothes soaked in sweat, trapped against their will in this frantic, endless movement.
Believe it or not, this whole citywide madness started with just one person. A single woman, a certain Frau Trophäa, walked out into the street one day in July and she started dancing. And she didn't stop for days.
And this is where things get really, really weird. Within about a month, she wasn't alone anymore. That number exploded to 400 people. Can you imagine? The streets just filled with hundreds of dancers, all locked in the same relentless, almost terrifying motion.
And look, this isn't some old legend. We know this happened. It's all there in historical records, doctors' notes, city council minutes, even church sermons. So the what is crystal clear. It's the why that's the real puzzle. Was it some kind of curse? A strange disease? Well, the best scientific explanation we have today points to something else entirely.
Okay, so today, scientists have a name for what they think went down in Strasbourg. It's called mass psychogenic illness. You can think of it like a psychological contagion. It's a virus that doesn't spread through the air, but from mind to mind.
And what's so wild about this is that there's no actual germ involved. No bacteria, no virus. Instead, you have a group of people under a lot of stress, and that shared anxiety triggers very real, very physical symptoms. Your brain literally convinces your body that it's sick, and then that belief can spread to other people like a real illness. And you can kind of see how the dominoes fall, right? First, you need a community that's already on edge, maybe dealing with famine or disease. Then you get a trigger event. Say one person starts dancing and can't stop. Fear just rips through the community, and before you know it, other people start showing the exact same physical symptoms.
And here's the kicker. The dancing plague of 1518 wasn't some isolated, freaky event. This kind of thing has happened over and over again throughout history, and sometimes in even stranger ways. I mean, just take a look at this list. We're talking about nuns who started meowing like cats, the Salem witch trials, and even an epidemic where people couldn't stop laughing. The symptoms are all over the map, but the underlying psychology? It's the exact same thing. So let's talk about these meowing nuns. Seriously. In a French convent back in the Middle Ages, one nun just starts meowing like a cat. And then, pretty soon, the entire convent is joining in, meowing together for hours every single day. It apparently only stopped when they were threatened with being whipped. It's a textbook case of what can happen in a closed-off, super high-stress environment.
Okay, now let's fast forward a few centuries to 1962 in what is now Tanzania. It all started with a joke at a girls' boarding school. A few girls started laughing, and they just couldn't stop. It spread like a virus to over 200 people, affecting whole villages. They had to shut down schools for months. Just imagine that, laughing until it physically hurts, and not being able to stop for days.
And it's not always about a weird physical tic like dancing or laughing. Sometimes it's a shared delusion, a collective panic. Take the Halifax slasher in 1938. An entire English town was terrified of this mysterious attacker. But after this huge investigation, turns out there was no slasher. The so-called victims, swept up in the town-wide panic, had actually hurt themselves. Their fear literally created a villain that didn't exist.
So you might be thinking, this is all just weird ancient history, right? Well, not so fast. The same phenomenon is absolutely still happening today. The only difference is the triggers are new and it spreads through entirely new channels.
Think about it. Back in 1518, the stress was all about famine, disease, and religious superstition. Today, the stress might come from school or what you see on the news, and the trigger isn't some person shouting in the town square, it's a viral TikTok or a scary headline. The delivery system's different, but our brains, they react to that collective stress in the same old way. And we have plenty of modern examples. In Portugal in 2006, over 300 students got rashes and dizziness from a fake virus they saw on a TV show. In a small town in New York, a dozen teenage girls all started developing Tourette's-like tics out of nowhere. And who could forget the Great Clown Panic of 2016? That was a global freakout fueled almost entirely by stuff people saw online.
All right, so now that we've got a handle on what this mass hysteria thing is, let's circle all the way back to the beginning. Let's solve the mystery of the dancing plague. We have all the clues now, right? We've seen the history, we understand the psychology. So let's put the puzzle together. What really happened in Strasbourg back in 1518?
Well, it was basically a perfect storm. The people of Strasbourg were going through absolute misery. There was famine, disease, extreme poverty. They were a community just waiting for something to snap. And here's the crucial part. They were deeply superstitious and believed they were under a curse from a saint, Saint Vitus. And the only known cure for this curse was to dance it out.
And that right there, that changes everything. It means we've been looking at this completely backwards. The dancing wasn't the sickness. For them, it was the only cure they could imagine. They genuinely believed they had to dance to save themselves, and they got trapped in this feedback loop, a trance fueled by pure desperation and fear.
So that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. The people of Strasbourg were caught up in a collective belief that looks totally bizarre to us today. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What beliefs or mass behaviors are we caught up in right now that will look just as crazy to people 500 years in the future? What's our modern-day dancing plague?